Welcome to the College Football Bros. I'm Michael Newman.
I'm Ryan Newman.
And I'm Trey Newman.
Today we are ranking every team in the Pac-12 in terms of how good we think they are headed into the 2022 season. Be sure to check out the other videos on our feed this week as well. We're going to have some more in-depth breakdowns of a few teams in the Pac-12. The USC video is already up. Who knows, by the time you're watching this, we might have come up with one or two more. Also, we have a podcast in which we previewed the Pac-12. That's audio only, so you can find the links to that in the description below. But let's get to these rankings. So, Trey, who do we have number 12?
We've got the Colorado Buffaloes. And, you know, there's not a ton of hope in Boulder right now. They finished 104th in SP Plus last year for Carl Durrell, and they had a few key pieces actually transfer away, unfortunately. So as of now, when you look at their schedule, they wouldn't be favored in a single game. It's pretty dark there. But you know, you look at last year in conference, they only averaged 20 points per game. So the offense this year really needs to take a big step forward in order to win some games. Durrell, he hired a new offensive coordinator, Mike Stanford. He was the offensive coordinator at Utah State and Minnesota recently, and you know, hopefully a new face, new scheme can help kickstart that offense. They have Brandon Lewis returning at quarterback, but he's being pushed by transfer JT Shrout. The defense isn't all that great either. They lose linebacker Nate Landman, who did a lot for them. But I will say they bring in West Virginia transfer there that could help fill the void and form at least a decent linebacker core. But they're just in rebuild mode.
Yeah, it's a tough go there. Tough one. All right, let's move on here to number 11. We have Arizona. This was a really bad team last year, 1-11. 5 games, they lost by 10 points or less, so sometimes they were competitive at least. But this year, man, I'd expect them to be competitive in most of their games. Their win total right now it's set at just 2.5, according to the betting market. And honestly, I think that's in part due to like a very tough non-conference schedule. They got at San Diego State, tough game, Mississippi State, and North Dakota State. So if you're going to play an FCS team, that's the one you want to avoid.
Why?
So,
Why?
Yeah, why schedule them, Arizona? Why do it? So that's a tough 3 games non-conference for them. So this team's going to be a lot better, even though they might not drastically change their win total. But Jed Fish has them headed in the right direction. They got a few really nice transfers, including Jaden DeLora, the quarterback, came from Washington State. I think he should be all right. Jacob Cowling is a big one from UTEP, a wide receiver. Just those 2 guys right there should really help that offense. So I think they're going to surprise some folks this year. I think they'll go over that 2.5. And I mean, they're 11th in the Pac-12, so they're not going to be good, but I think they're going to be a much improved team.
Agreed. Moving on to number 10, we have Cal, headed up by Justin Wilcox, who reportedly this offseason said no to Oregon to remain with the Bears. Pretty surprising move, if that's the case. And this year, I mean, the defense should be fine, and that's kind of always the case under Wilcox. Sometimes it's really good. The problem is the offense, and I don't see that getting much better this year. They lost almost everybody on that side of the ball. They bring in Purdue transfer Jack Plummer at quarterback, who I think could be a solid option, but I just don't like what is surrounding him. So that's why they're 10th.
Yep. Number 9, Arizona State. And there's just so much change, and they are so difficult to predict this upcoming year. They have a lot of uncertainty around the program, given the infractions and changes to the staff and a lot of transfers out of the program. And of course, losing Jaden Daniels was the big loss there. But they really lose guys on both sides of the ball. But enter in Emory Jones from Florida. We know how athletic he is, but can he get it down the field consistently? That's going to be the question mark. I do like their running back, Xavier Valade. He transferred in from Wyoming. But the problem is they're going to be relying on transfers to patch up the O-line, so we'll see if that shakes out. They had a good defense last year, but again, more attrition, only 3 starters back, a new defensive coordinator. So if they can get over the dark cloud that's hanging over them, they have some upside to me. But to me, they're kind of like all or nothing. Like they could win 8 or 4, and I really wouldn't be surprised.
And Herm Edwards would be gone in a heartbeat there, you would think. Yeah. All right, moving on. We got at number 8, we have Stanford Cardinal. They obviously didn't have a very good year last year, but they're bringing back a ton. They're going to be a very experienced team, 7th in the nation in returning production. To me, a big key for them is they're switching from a 3-4 to a 4-3 on defense. They think it kind of matches their personnel better. So hopefully that helps them improve that defense, especially stopping the run. They were terrible against the run last year, so I think they'll be a little better on that side of the ball. On offense, Tanner McKee is back at quarterback. He's got a lot of potential. People keep talking about him, NFL type potential. Didn't finish the year all that great, but we'll see how he finishes, or he kind of comes into this year. But with everybody coming back around him, like every single starter, he's gonna be. You would think he'd put up better numbers. The O-line needs to do a lot better job protecting him, but I like what he has as his receiver. So I think Stanford's going to be a much improved squad as well.
Agreed. Moving on to number 7, we have Washington State. I wasn't quite this high in my personal ranking. We all 3 did our own separate rankings and kind of combined them here, but we all were higher on this team than the predictive metrics, just because I don't think those take into account just how good their new quarterback Cameron Ward might be. The transfer from Incarnate Word. They also brought in his head coach as their new offensive coordinator, his best receiver also coming from Incarnate Word. So if he can do anything close to what he did in FCS, where he was unbelievable, one of the best quarterbacks in the country there, then this offense has really high upside, as long as the offensive line can be decent, because they lose a lot of pieces there. And then Jake Dickert, the new head coach, of course, taking off that interim tag, he should have a solid defense. So they could overperform. They could surprise some people.
Yeah, it'd be fun to watch in Pullman. Number 6, Oregon State. This is a team that they were in the mix in the division last year. Jonathan Smith has done a good job building this program. He's upgraded the offense since getting there. I mean, they were dreadful when he took over, but steadily climbed. They finished 16th in SP Plus offense last year. Now they return their quarterback, Chance Nolan. They have a freshman running back, Damian Martinez, that's getting some love. Deshaun Fenwick also is already returning at running back. Most of the receiving core is back too. So the thing is with that offense, it should be good, and they need it to be good, because the defense is a kind of a wild card. Haven't been great. They need an improvement. The good thing, I guess, is they are experienced. They have Omar Spates, who anchors the D at linebacker. They bring in a nice piece from Florida, transfer Andrew Chatfield, help get some pressure on the edge. And looking at down the road, with the Civil War in Corvallis, it's not totally unreasonable to think that game could potentially have an impact in the conference race.
Did last year, so I wouldn't be surprised again this year. I like the Beavers. All right, moving on to number 5, we have Washington. Big question here is how big of an impact can the new head coach, Kalen DeBoer, make on that offense in year 1? They were 114th nationally in total yards, 125th in rushing, so they were just abysmal. How big of an impact is he going to make? That remains to be seen. The defense was good and should still be solid again. Washington sported a good defense for quite a while now. If that offense can just be decent, then I think this team will be solid, and they'll be able to compete with anybody really in the conference. Nobody's going to be clearly head and shoulders above them. QB, major concern. Who's going to be the guy? My money's on Michael Penix, the transfer from Indiana, because he knows Kalen DeBoer's system from when Kalen DeBoer was at Indiana, and Penix ran it really well. So my money's on him. The other quarterbacks, Heward has potential. He was a big-time recruit, but didn't show all well last year. And Dylan Morris, I think he's just shown enough that I don't think he's really. I think it's going to be between Heward and Penix personally, but Penix is my choice. Their win total 7.5, so it seems a bit high for a team that I think they only won 4 games last year. But when you consider they avoid USC and Utah from the South, maybe makes a bit more sense. But this should be a good team. I'm just very, very interested to see the offense.
Yeah, Washington is one of the tougher teams to rank on this list. Hard to know what to expect from them. Number 4 on our list is UCLA. Offense should be very good again. They got DTR back, of course, after they had Dylan Gabriel transfer in, so you kind of thought DTR was on the way out, and then Oklahoma job opened up, so no more Gabriel. They've got Zach Charbonnet back at running back, who is maybe the best running back in the conference. So offense is going to be good with Chip Kelly. Whether the defense can be decent might determine whether they can make a run at the Pac-12 title. They lose 9 starters on that side of the ball. It's not like it was a great defense, so you'd expect it to be bad, but they did add a slew of transfers, including twin edge rushers from North Texas, Grayson and Gabriel Murphy. So we'll see if that defense can, on the back of the transfers, outperform what people expect.
No doubt. Number 3, their crosstown rival, USC. Now, talk about, the wild card of all wild cards when talking about the Pac-12 and even the national race. They're so hard to gauge, but everyone knows the story. Lincoln Riley comes to town, brings his hotshot quarterback, Caleb Williams. Obviously, he's getting some Heisman love. Mario Williams, also from Oklahoma, receiver. The other big get was Jordan Addison from Pitt, the reigning Biletnikoff winner. I know Michael likes the Oregon transfer running back Travis Dye. And the line, surprisingly, hasn't been a total strength of in recent times, but it could be one of the best in the conference this year. The big question, of course, comes down to if USC's defense can show any improvement with coordinator Alex Grinch. They were really, really bad last year, and now trying to gel a bunch of transfers together and put all those pieces in the puzzle and see if it fits. Maybe the scheme change will help them out, but this unit is very tough to gauge. So no matter what, it's going to be fun to watch SC again and see how year 1 progresses for Lincoln Riley.
Yeah, that is a fact. All right, moving on to number 2, we have Oregon. They got a new head coach, Dan Lanning. He comes in from Georgia after leading one of the best defenses in recent memory. He's going to have to find a new starting quarterback there in Eugene. Anthony Brown, last year's starting quarterback, he was inconsistent though. So I think whoever ends up winning the job, it's not like they're going to have to replace huge shoes. And I think whoever does win the job will be able to at least match what Anthony Brown was able to do last year. The defense, I think it's going to be pretty good. They got a pretty darn good front 7. Noah Sewell is just an absolute beast at linebacker, and I trust Dan Lanning to make them solid on that side of the ball. The bigger question to me is just the offense, and in particular, the offensive coordinator, Kenny Dillingham. He was at Florida State the last couple years, did all right. They improved a little bit last year. Then he was at Auburn the year before that. Not that great. It was actually Bo Nix's first year as the starter, so it's kind of reuniting with him. But his one good year as an offensive coordinator is his last year at Memphis, which is his only year as the offensive coordinator in 2018. But by that time, Memphis was already rolling, and they already had so many good offenses, so it's hard to judge if he was really, how big of an impact Dillingham had. So that's a question mark for me. Is he going to be able to make an impact on that offense? Are they going to be able to be consistent? But talent alone, they're going to be solid. They're going to be fine, and I think this team's deserving of number 2. But there's question marks with the new staff coming in for sure.
Yeah, very curious to see how Bo Nix, assuming he starts. I know it's not a sure thing, but he seems to be the big favorite. We'll be very curious to see how he if he can make a leap from what he did at Auburn. Yep. Number 1 on our list is Utah. I think this one was a unanimous choice among the 3 of us as the best team in the conference. They were the best last year, and they have the most continuity on the staff and the roster. Offense is definitely going to be very good with Cam Rising back at quarterback, Tavian Thomas back after an 1,100-yard season at running back. Receiving core, it does take a hit with losing Britton Covey. That's a big loss, but they've got a great duo of tight ends, or just a great group of tight ends overall, led by Dalton Kincaid and Brant Keithy. And then defensively, Devin Lloyd is a massive loss. I know it's just one player, but they lost a few players defensively. He's the biggest by far, but it's Utah. They develop and coach so well on
bringing
that
a
side
nice
of the ball.
Florida transfer.
Yeah, that's right. They're bringing a linebacker from Florida, so that
pretty
should
good
help
too.
things. Yeah. So they are our unanimous pick as number 1 in the Pac-12. But let's take a look at the overall list here. Anything stand out to you, Ryan?
Well, I kind of just looked at when I compare the betting market as far as winning the conference, it's like a 3-team race when you really look at that. You got Utah, Oregon, and USC, all relatively similar as far as chances to win. And then it's a pretty darn big drop-off to the next kind of group of teams. And I don't know, to me, when I look at the teams like on paper here, I don't see that big of a gap as I'm seeing with the winning the conference odds. I think, you got UCLA, Oregon State, Washington, Wazoo. I don't think they're that far behind like USC, who's generally considered maybe the third favorite, but I think it's relatively open. And I wouldn't be surprised if one of those middle of the pack teams ends up surprising and makes the title game and maybe even wins.
Yeah, I could see that. I do think if we're putting this conference into tiers, I think you could kind of do 4 tiers of 3, and it would get you pretty close there. Because I do think that top 3 is the clear top 3, like you said. Even if you think someone below could win, 4 through 6 was tough to separate. Because Oregon State at 6th, they could easily be the 4th best team in the conference. That wouldn't surprise me at all. There was very little separating those schools. 7 through 10, not much difference there. Maybe, 7 through 9, I guess. 10 through 12, it might be a little unfair to have Cal in that group. Colorado, honestly, maybe it's just on a tier by themselves at the
they
bottom.
might be.
Unfortunately.
Yeah, probably. But I think you can definitely make some tiers there, and that's pretty easy to see.
Yeah, I'd agree.
All right, that'll do it for this episode of the College Football Bros. Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Give the video a thumbs up and subscribe if you like college football. And we will see you next time.
You've been watching the College Football Bros. Be sure to subscribe here on YouTube and in your podcast app for college football content all year round. For bonus episodes and access to our Discord chat, join our Patreon at patreon.com/collegefootballbros. Thanks for watching.